will try to be brief. I do think we want to have a good discussion afterwards. I do want to address, or at least come back to some of the earlier questions, because I have an opinion on that as well. I was asked to do a presentation. Sorry for pacing around, that's my nature. I was asked to do a presentation on passwords are dead. Passwords are bad. Are they? Let me be frank, passwords are far from dead. Unfortunately, is my opinion. So what we at Ping Identity do is try to provide a seamless user journey where we get rid of passwords, or at least make it as seamless as possible and passwordless as possible. So my name is Roy Peters. I work at Ping Identity as a senior sales account executive here in the Benelux and Nordics. So you probably don't want to hear my sales pitch. So I'm trying to get to a story where, we take you on a journey that we see with our customers. The title of the presentation is Going Passwordless with Risk Signals and Verifiable Credentials. So you can already see there's a journey. Some stuff we can do right now, some stuff we need to do next, and maybe verifiable credentials in the future. So, why are we using passwords? Why are we still using passwords? First off, we built a legacy infrastructure that's built on passwords. We cannot change that overnight. Simple. There is also a fear of change. Some people don't want to change. Some people don't see the need for change. And let's be frank, there's a lot of budget involved as well to do that. And we have various user scenarios, especially, healthcare, banking, financial, all regulated environments require stuff to be, looked after and make sure that we are compliant too. So, should we get rid of passwords then? Why? We all know it's not secure. The average, according to Verizon at least, they do a breach study every year. The average number of passwords, we use is 192. I checked my password manager. I have 204, and that's only my consumer password. It's not my work password. So I'm a little over that. But I challenge you to look at, if you can pull it up, how many you have. But I'm sure that they're pretty accurate. We also know that 70% of people reuse passwords, which is not secure in itself. And to have a proper password that is secure, it will require a long password, which nobody can remember. And there's a little joke that somebody said, my password is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs because it required to be 8 characters long. Very stupid, that joke, but anyway. It is that complex. Then, the user experience. It sucks. Having to enter a long password every time I log on? Really? I would like to have a frictionless experience. And to reset password because I forgot or just want to change it, the average help desk cost is $70, according to Forrester at least. Now, in the grander, bigger scheme of things, I would say that it is a very costly operation. Having passwords, according to Yubico, who did research on this, a 15,000 employee environment would cause 11 hours lost just on managing those password resets. 12 minutes a week and amounting to $5.2 million. Whether these numbers are correct or not doesn't really matter. Even if it's half, it's still a lot of money and it's still a lot of time. So we ideally want to get rid of passwords. We also see the value in having a passwordless environment. It is more secure. We can increase productivity and we can reduce help desk costs. On the consumer side of things, where we have to enter our credentials and we have to enter the passwords, it leads to less churn. I have effectively abandoned shopping carts where I had to enter a long list of stupid stuff. I refuse to enter my children's birth dates in a travel environment or when I'm booking a hotel, because they shouldn't care. They should ask their age, which I can understand, but they have no need to know their birth date. So I refuse to enter that, and will just go to another site. Something different from password, but still, there is stuff that leads me away from that shopping cart. When you can use biometric methods, it's always easier. And just having to reuse, or people reusing the passwords, is also something that we can take away as a value. Now, let me be frank and let me be very, very clear. This is not an overnight exercise. I am stunned at what Arjen did. In a month, roll out MFA? In 1 month? 6 months. Oh, I thought you started on 1st July. I might have missed that. Well, even 6 months. I'm stunned. 6 months is very well done. Most companies take a lot longer, and that's just adding MFA. I'm not even talking about passwordless. All right? So, how do we get there? It is a journey, and that's what I call the passwordless journey. So, Peter also touched on risk factors. We can do stuff to do risk analysis, user behavior analytics, IP ranges, trusted devices, stuff like that. You can add that to the login experience. So if we know that somebody has logged in, first time, on a trusted device, on a trusted network, coming from, why would we ask them to re-authenticate every 6 hours or every 12 hours? We can extend that time. At Ping, we log in with biometric fingerprint scan on my MacBook, and I set my password. I do have a password, but I set my password when I enrolled at Ping, when I started at Ping 9 months ago. I've never had to enter it, ever again, because it re-authenticates, and then I get my smartphone out and have a second factor, but still. So then you can start thinking about phasing out passwords, at least getting less. Less and less passwords is always better. Add MFA instead of a password. Then you can start thinking about there's different methods, right? You can email magic links, you can do QR codes, but still the principle remains the same. Then, jumping the gun to another step is adding FIDO keys on a FIDO device. And ultimately, if we want to go through passwordless, really, and that's where I know that Bob doesn't want me to touch on that too often because it's a topic that is recurring today a lot of times, is the wallets. True passwordless, if you have verifiable credentials in a digital wallet that is secure on a device, authenticating against FIDO2, that is definitely the future vision that we hold.
Yeah, I've heard this before, but isn't it actually sort of pushing out? Because you need to have access to that wallet. And, that would be FIDO or QR or biometrics.
So sure, once you get a verifiable credential that contains everything you want proven, great for you as, the service provider. But aren't you just shifting the boundary, because now the challenge will be for the end user to access the wallet. And that won't be just opening the app if you want it secure. I hope not. Or anyone who has access to the phone has access to those credentials, because then you're screwed all over again.
True, assuming we're talking about a phone.
Yeah, well, my husband is doing DIY. He just sent off his fingerprints. He's got real serious trouble accessing his MacBook.
Okay. Well, I partially agree. of course, and that's why I said, it is a journey, and even we don't know what the exact future will be. We can only start building towards that future. Obviously, having a wallet, that needs to be secured as well. And I would hope that we will not secure the wallet with a password. But fingerprint might be one thing. I don't know. But I agree. It is a future vision. Question was asked, how long will it take before it will become an active? I think maybe, and I tend to agree with Ari, in 3 to 5 years, easy. What do we need to adopt more? One, have like an open source standard that is, not Google and not Apple, not Microsoft, but, shared commonly. Start working together to, like Lopke Morel said this morning, to an ideal world. I'm jumping the gun here, but never mind. And what is needed, I think, is a certain level of trust. I need to trust that somebody's not abusing my credentials. I need to trust that if I store something in my wallet, whatever device it may be, it is secured and nobody is abusing that. The adoption rate of an Apple Pay, I think that has been amazing. I see a lot of people using their iPhones paying now. But still, not everybody uses it. My mom is 70-something years old. She doesn't even know what I'm talking about if I say Apple Pay. And she doesn't trust that that's weird technology, don't want to know. No, it's just, I have it on my watch. My wife, who was strictly against applications, she didn't want to have apps on her iPhone because, you can do that with a browser. I'm like, really? And she said, well, can you take your wallet with you so that I don't have to? And we're like, okay, let me install that on your smartwatch. And she goes, no, I don't want to have that so much. So it is like a level of adoption. It is like a level of trust. But I think there is a future there. So one thing that I would encourage everybody to look at when starting on that journey is, and Peter will love me for that, is an orchestration platform. Transmit is one of them. There's different options. Again, I don't want to be too salesy, but ping is the best. The DaVinci platform makes it easy to design a flow. So you can design the user journey, and it's almost like a drag and drop, no-code whiteboarding session. So you can illustrate and design, whiteboard a user journey. You can drag and drop the applications that you want to have access to, and then hit deploy. I'm saying it's very simplistic, but it is almost that simple. We've had interns joining with no coding experience, no IT experience at all, making their first active flow within 6 weeks. Never touched the environment, never touched the platform. This makes the passwordless journey, or the journey to passwordless, a lot easier. Then, and that's what I said, I'm jumping the gun, but this is what we're working on. So we are part of all the initiatives, but actively contributing to the recently launched Open Wallet Foundation. We envision a future where open source wallets, secured, become an industry standard that everybody can start using. Coming back to a question earlier, EID, you mentioned it's what in the wallet. I fully agree. If I can only put banking cards in there, why would I use it? If I can only use it for government IDs, why would I use it? I want to have one single wallet. Having a fragmented experience of having IDN and EID and e-reckoning, whatever, all these different systems do not help either. But I fully understand that there is a future where we can have all those credentials stored in one place. That place should be the user. That user should have control over the credentials and what is being shared with the verifiers and what they are getting from the issuers. If a user has control, like I said, you can have my age when I go to Hell, but you shouldn't know my birth date. So if you want to verify me, if you want to have my credentials, if you want to authenticate me to access my account in Hell, you only need to have that credential, which pulls out the attribute where it says age. That can be computed from my wallet. There's no need to have my birthday out with Hell or any verifier. This means that for us, probably our financial model will start to change. Instead of charging users or charging for licenses, we will be charging for number of verifications probably. I don't know. Again, it's a future state. I don't have a crystal ball, but this is what we're actively working on. With that, basically, I would like to open it for discussion. Any questions?
Silence, Roy. Silence.
I take that as a good time.
They're all blown away.
Right, thank you. Oh, go.
How can you help me if I don't have a smartphone?
There's different options. So one, it's not limited to smartphone. When we design I'm assuming you're talking about wallet or
Digital credentials,
digital, okay.
providing me the services that you describe.
Yeah. So basically, the FIDO2 key is perhaps an example, but looking at wallets, it shouldn't be limited to a smartphone. We also think about adding a browser plugin. You know, if I don't have my smartphone, or if I'm accessing my credentials from a shared computer, maybe my friend's computer, or I'm in an old days internet cafe, I do want to access my credentials. And in that respect, we have to work out a means where I can access my credentials from a browser, website, browser, plugin, that I can access in a secure way.
And it still requires somebody who has access to the internet. I mean, you used your mother as an example. If she does not have a computer and wants to do certain things that requires her birth date, credentials, whatever, how can we help them?
That's a very, very good question. I don't think, so the passwordless journey will not be applicable to, well, passwords in general will not be applicable to them. I'm just thinking about maybe plane tickets. So if I have an airline ticket, Ryanair, for instance, forces me to have that either printed or I should access it online. I cannot go to a booth at the airport to Ryanair and ask, which makes it difficult for elderly people or certain people that do not have access to internet or in general. And I think we need to consider those groups. But like I said, I think most people started using Apple Pay or Google Pay or one form of digital pay, but not everybody. And it will never be like the ideal where everybody uses that kind of security, but we can only enable. You asked a question before about employees using their personal phones. I think that's a generational problem. I think my children and even the teenagers that I see around me, they do everything with their phone. They don't care about privacy. They don't care about accounts. They don't care about. They will use their phone for everything. And if I give them the choice, use your personal phone, or have a cumbersome login, or maybe carry an extra FIDO key around, which you might forget, they will. I'm certain they will pick their personal phone. I love this. We have a discussion. Good.
Because, well, I Well, maybe I'm a bit older than your children, but I know a lot of people from my generation that also, I mean, you're always on in the digital world. So it's also good to be able to put your work off and put your phone away. And I do have multiple colleagues that are using different phones for work and private life. And I don't think that will change, especially because younger people are aware of, well, that you're always on in the digital world.
We will see. I
find it an interesting question as well about the youngsters and stuff. Because if you look at that simple model, you just displayed the three columns, like the verifier, the issuing party, and the user in the middle. We are basically throwing the user in the pond, not even knowing what he has in his inside pocket. And if we look at how he handles a password, how on earth is he going to responsibly handle this wallet? So that's something I'm really worried about. Maybe other people.
But we're already there, right? So there is wallets available. Samsung has a wallet. Microsoft launched their credentials. You know, it is already starting, and the adoption rate, like I said with Apple Pay, you know, I was skeptic at first having my bank card on a mobile phone. Yeah. But and sometimes it doesn't work as well as but I don't know. I like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. No.
But then to address the question that you raised, shouldn't there be legislation then from the EU and the Dutch government that, well, basically provides, for instance, ping identity with obligations to handle people that are not willing to partake in a digital ecosystem here? Maybe do you want to be curated on that? Sorry? Do you want to be curated on providing elderly people that only want to work with a flat passport?
I don't think so. From ping identity, that's not the issue. So we can provide legacy. We have that hybrid environment. But I think this is a consideration that office organizations or government organizations or public transport organizations or banking organizations need to take into consideration. You know, it's not that simple. You cannot just go full digital. Even Belastingdienst tried, and we know how that turns out. So we get like a message in mijnoverheid.nl, and we get like a blue envelope, and we get maybe not even an SMS notification as well on top of that, just to be covering all the target groups. And I think every organization needs to take into account that there is certain target groups that will struggle with that digital future.
But I'm not...
I'm also a vendor I'm from Trustbuilder, and a vendor as well. And I think we also enable these kind of organizations, right? Like banks, insurance companies, governments, they go all digital. So indeed, there are people who can't go digital because they're old or they don't want to, but banks and insurance companies and governments, they go digital. And we are there to help these organizations, I think, to enable the user experience and to also make it secure. But there is not a way that we will move away from digital and that these organizations will move away from digital.
Look at what happened with PIN transactions. You know, in older days, you could go to a banking office and withdraw money. I wouldn't even know where the nearest office would be. They closed everything down. And elderly people use the banking card nowadays as well. So it's a matter of time, I guess.
Want to comment or? Yeah?
Your question about legislation, it is there. I work for TransLink in the Netherlands. We issue the 15 million LV chip cards that probably most of you have in your wallets. And we have to support those who cannot sort of digitally help themselves. That's where my question came from. So the legislation is there. The same goes for people who would like to remain anonymous. We have to provide a certain amount of services in public transport for those who wish to remain anonymous. And obviously, a lot of services cannot be provided. Bear in mind, I'm very much into digital and apps and all sorts of things, but we also have this challenge. When we introduced the OV chip card, we opened up a website where you could order your card. The world was too small. We had to have application forms at every railway station, at every service desk of all the public transport operators in the Netherlands. We still do today. So digital and wallets, it's great. It helps, I think, 95% of the people. But a lot of people who cannot afford their own car, use public transport, and we have to find services to sort of have, I don't know, guest access, guest credentials somehow, so that you can help your mother, that I can help my mother, provided they need the help.
Yeah, but that doesn't limit the actual deployment of a wallet, right? So if you don't need to extract the credential, if you don't need the name, if you don't need that attribute, just don't call it. Pull just what you need from that wallet. Thinking of that, especially in TransLink's case, it also, at the one end, you still have a target group that's not being served, the elderly people or people that, cannot travel themselves or at least purchase something themselves. But at the same time, tourists that are now struggling with the OV chip card are well covered because they can just download something in the application that works with TransLink as well. So it's always a chicken and an egg story, probably.
My suggestion would be to take that discussion to lunch with you three. Yeah? I think we have a stop now because there are people coming in who are probably hungry, want to eat. Are there any famous last words or pressing last questions? Then I thank you very much, and we'll see you all
thank you, everyone.
later on.